on using dialogue and discussion and the differences. To begin, though, we'd like to ask you to check out the forum, specifically the question and answer section. In the course so far, we've asked you to review the entire forum, give it an overview, and we've asked you to select a process and try it. We'd also like you to delve into the question and answer section of the forum. This will enable you to ask your own question related to something that you're working on and receive answers from us as well as the community. This is the question and answer section, and as you can see, agenda planning is a really big one that people ask us about, so it has its own section. And you only need to ask one question in one section. So you could choose agenda planning, another question, or you can ask a question about a specific process that you've tried that could be something that you found throughout the forum so far. Once you've done that, make sure you share a comment if there's anything that you think that could be updated or improved, or if you just have a general comment, share it in the post here. So when we look at dialogue and discussion, we've given you an overview, you've read some research, you've even tried an experiment on your own. We want to talk to you about some more specific things to think about, things to consider when you're practicing dialogue. Remember, dialogue is going to focus on building a deeper understanding. You should always keep that in the forefront of your mind. While you're practicing dialogue, you should always examine the purpose for speaking. Remember, you're always trying to get a better understanding of the different points of view, and if you're talking with one person, the other person's point of view. This can be difficult if the other person is advocating for their point of view and you feel like you're not being listened to. It can help you slip right back into a discussion mode. So always keep in mind the purpose for speaking. This may sound really simple, but allowing for silence and think time is very difficult for people. Often when we're using processes in our in-person seminars, we will ask people to stop and take a minute for reflection. After about 10 seconds, people start fidgeting. After about 30 seconds, you can tell they just are about ready to explode. Sitting silent for a full minute is really difficult. And I'm not asking you to do that every time. It would be kind of awkward and stop the flow of the dialogue. But in a moment when you need to check your purpose for speaking, or you feel like you're sliding into discussion, step back and just allow a little bit of time for silence. An important tool to use, and something that we remember often, is to suspend your inner voice when you're in the middle of dialogue. Again, just because you're practicing dialogue does not necessarily mean the other person is aware of or is practicing dialogue. So you can often be drawn into a conversation where, again, you begin advocating for your point of view, and the conversation can go off rail or even result in conflict. As you notice something like that happening, if you can stop and step outside of the meeting. When we say go to the balcony, it means look at the meeting from the outside, not just as a participant, but as somebody observing what's happening. And you can notice what's happening with yourself, what's happening with other participants, noticing body language, other triggers that can help you stop for a minute. And then if you go back to the last one and take a minute of silence, it can help you get the dialogue back on track. Keeping in mind that, especially in groups, you want to make sure that everybody has had an opportunity to participate. Keeping in mind, and this is something you can also do when we do the last tip, which is stepping to the balcony, making sure that you're striving to balance participation in the group. Has everyone had an opportunity to talk? Is someone dominating the conversation? Could you pose a question to somebody to give them an opportunity to share an opinion when they haven't had the opportunity to do so? People think differently and people act very differently in groups. There are some people who are entirely comfortable sharing their opinion and participating in their groups. And there are other people who take time to think before they are going to share their opinion. Often if you allow that think time and then have the people participate, you'll get better participation. But also if you create a process that, and one of the processes that are is in the forum that you can use to make sure that everybody has an opportunity. This could be timing participation. There are various ways to do it. But if you come up with a process that ensures that everybody has time to participate, you will hear from everyone. And oftentimes those real thinkers have great ideas and we don't ever hear them because they aren't ever given the opportunity to share them. Another one is to keep in mind your physical presence. Are you starting to lean forward? Are your fists clenched? Think about your physical presence. What kind of eye contact are you giving? And notice that, especially if a conversation is starting to move into a discussion or even into some sort of conflict, you'll notice the physical presence. Again, you can stop, take a deep breath, and sit back. And that can impact the entire group if even one person does that. Finally, it's important to focus on one topic at a time. And this can be accomplished by using an agenda and making sure that you stick to that agenda. And it also can be accomplished by making sure that you have an agenda item and then you have a specific process for dealing with that agenda item. But you only want to deal with one topic at a time. Often groups go completely off the rails when the group kind of meanders through different topics. So we talk about this topic and somebody brings up this point of view, which leads us to another topic, which leads us to another topic, and suddenly you're not even on the agenda at all. And then just as suddenly the time is up and the meeting is over and you haven't accomplished anything. So making sure that you focus on one topic at a time. And a great way to handle that, again, is to have a written agenda and to just ask a naive question. You know what? Are we still on the agenda? Should we come back to the agenda? And it helps you to bring the group focus back to the topic you're supposed to be talking about. Finally, I can't say enough about all of these suggestions as well as everything you've read up to this point. And I have to say it one more time. You have to practice in order for this to become natural. It can benefit you so much if you do. So make sure that you're practicing. And when you try one of these points of view, you can also share your reflections in the post after this video. Thanks.